So how do we start working with the Kubernetes? So there are different options. One of them is we can install the Kubernetes on the Docker desktop. So we have got a Docker desktop and we can use that for installing the Kubernetes. Another thing is we can use Minikube. Minikube is also a very good option. It also provides a flavor for Linux, Mac OS or Windows. And the steps to install Minikubes are very straightforward, and we definitely can install a Minikube and do work over there. Another good option that I see is uh, over internet you can create your play area where you can use like play with K8S. There is one very good online tool that is available. We can definitely leverage that to install the Kubernetes. For example, when you register yourself with a Kubernetes, register yourself with a labs.playwithk8s.com. You can create your own session. The only thing with this is you only get 4 hours to work with the Kubernetes, and then your session will end. And then again, you can start your session again and you can start working on that. For example, here I can create my Kubernetes cluster. Here it also allows like you have to follow the instruction that is provided here. And once you do that, you should be able to start working with the Kubernetes on labs.playwithk8s.com. But what we will do is we will use, I do have installed Docker desktop on my machine. So we can start working with the Kubernetes on Docker desktop. So steps for installing Kubernetes on Docker desktop is very straightforward. So if you look at it, I have a Windows machine, and in that one I have a Docker desktop. So you go to the settings of the Docker desktop, you select Kubernetes, enable Kubernetes checkbox and restart it. So by default the Kubernetes is not enabled, but when you enable that, it will install the Kubernetes. So let us go to a Docker desktop. Here is my Docker desktop, and here is the settings. So I go to the settings. Here on the left side I have got a Kubernetes on a menu items. Here I can enable a Kubernetes. It will start a Kubernetes single node cluster when starting a Docker desktop. There is advanced options as well, but majority of the our course and also majority of the people who may not require that, if you want to go ahead, you can check it on that and you definitely can install the advanced option as well. So as stated on the website, Kubernetes is binary is not automatically enabled. So with enabling the Kubernetes, kubelets binary gets unpacked into the Docker desktop. Then another thing that we need to understand is when we install the Kubernetes, it will add the kubelets into the specific path on the Windows machine, and also on a Linux machine it will install kubelets. And as we had discussed in the previous lecture, when we install the Kubernetes, it needs the communication mechanism, and kubelet is the communication mechanism between master node and the worker nodes. And when we install the Kubernetes on a local machine will act as a worker node and also the master node. One more thing you need to do after installation of the Kubernetes is, if you are using a Windows machine, you need to add the path, you need to add the specific path on Windows system variables. This will allow to use the Kubernetes from any directories. Also, if you have multiple instances of the Kubernetes, like you also have a Minikube or you may have a you know AWS EKS clustered app, and all those things are already set up into this one. And if you want to use the Docker desktop for a local environment, then you need to make sure that you set this so that Docker desktop will act as a primary Kubernetes. After installation, if you go to the command prompt and type kubectl version, you should be able to get some latest version whatever you have installed on the Kubernetes. And this makes sure that you have installed a Kubernetes. You can check the more commands using the Docker help command, and it will give you all the details of the commands that are available for the Kubernetes. So this is all needed to install Kubernetes on a Docker desktop. Thank you.